I gotta admit, from being a super spy from Burnt Notice to being a con artist at a Shut-Eye, how is that difference, that transition from that show to this one?
Well, I had a small job in between called Fargo that allowed me to kind of break out of Michael Weston. Thank you. And you know, hopefully kind of reset people's image of me as not a super spy, which I'm certainly not. So it felt less of a leap going into Shut-Eye than I did going into Fargo. Interestingly, though, going into Shut-Eye, there was a lot of similarities of having a skill set to be able to manipulate people, talk to people the way you wanted them to go. That was a little closer to Michael Weston. So, in fact, if I hadn't gotten Fargo, I'm not sure I would have done this role.
Oh, that's very interesting. Very interesting.
Will we see any of the physicality come into play that you had in Burn Notice in this new show, or is Charlie pretty hands-off?
Charlie's pretty hands-off. He's not a very strong physical type. I think you'll be more inclined to see KaDee throw down than Charlie. And probably I'd push her into the fight, actually, how strong she is.
That's fantastic.
Emotionally and physically, I would say.
Oh, thank you. It's a fun world. But I also love, as he was referring to, I was a huge fan of his work on Florida. And I didn't know what I was going to get coming to the table on this show. And I loved seeing Jeffrey explore a character that was so unexpected, particularly after Burn Notice and Fargo, because of the lack of physical prowess and presence in an obvious way. It was a mind presence, and it was, for lack of a better word, an essence presence that Charlie has that is what draws you in a different way, and that's where he gets you. It's more about his energy, and it's more about his mind. And it's certainly, I think, part of the draw Linda has to him.
So, out of the episodes that you, how many episodes have you guys filmed so far?
We filmed 10.
Yeah, we filmed 10.
All 10 were filmed.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best episode of Shut-Eye so far, personally, between you two?
We haven't really seen a lot.
Oh, you guys have not seen it?
Yeah.
You guys keep you in the dark.
I've watched myself. I mean, it's pretty boring. Everyone else is really good. My stuff is usually, I go to the bathroom breaks. And I come on the screen.
He's so full of it. I love, of all the things, because the process was so different that I'm used to. And because this cast, I would literally film scenes and I would wonder, what am I going to see? Because we did it so many different ways. Or I was so surprised by what an actor did. Or frankly, it's filled with actors I love to watch. So in a strange way, this was easier for me to see some of the material that we have seen, which has been limiting because they are still in the process of finishing everything. But it for me was fun to watch because these people know if I can say that in any of these outlets, but I just did. I mean, you're talking like top tier. You better come to work prepared. And more than that, I wanted to. I mean, it's sort of not my thing to show up not prepared, but yeah, I really wanted to like go in there and give everything I had because I knew he would, and I knew he was going to surprise me. And I knew I wanted to be surprised, and I wanted to surprise him.
She was just surprised I showed up. So. That's what she's talking. She's like, oh, he came to work today.
Two children. That's hard to leave those guys.
Was there a favorite scene or moment, like again, because you guys hadn't seen the show, is there anything off the top of your head that you guys could remember, like maybe a favorite scene or a line or a moment from the show that you liked? So far.
There's the ending that's the freshest in my mind of episode 10, where I know that throughout that process, KaDee and I had to create a lot of leaps of what these characters were going through, and then what it kind of led you to believe that if there were a second season, that this was plausible. And I think it was great to work with her on that because she's always, like she said, just so prepared, and we feed off of each other. And I think that probably that last episode in its entirety was one of my favorite, because I knew we were in the trenches, and we really leaned on each other.
Yeah, it's a real joy when you show up and you know that the other person on the receiving end of what you're giving is fully committed to that exploration. And that is every experience I had with Jeffrey. And it didn't matter if we were tired and it was 14 hours into the day, we were going to do the same. And that is really wonderful, especially when you have an hour drive ahead of you and you do have kids waiting for you at home. You know, it's things like that you can't necessarily anticipate, and it's why it is so very important to have material that stimulates you and people that are stimulated as well, and that really want to come in and commit to that exploration. And that's all this guy does. I mean, I also love, like, we have a real shorthand together. And I know there were certain scenes, I guess this is my way of answering that question. So it's not just one, but it was more the overall experience of working with Jeffrey. And it did filter into the other cast, but because we have so much work together, it's certainly true between the two of us. We would look at each other, and sometimes we would just come up and be like, what do we need to do here? And we would just sit with it for a minute, and then we would just get into it, and we'd be like, well, that was not what I thought we were going to do, you know, in essence, because it just became something else. And it could be literally sitting down with a cup of coffee and the normalcy of that between people that have been together for so long, and what is really the meaning of what's happening between us. I mean, there was just this man's mind is so good, and also he knows me well enough in the work that he would come over to me and say, I have an idea, and I just want to know what you would do with it. And I would get so excited because his ideas were always so great, and because he understands his character with equal care that I understand her and who these two people are together, that it made that aspect of things just really, I mean, I was never bored, and that's like the greatest job in the world. Right? But that's
Looks like you two have great chemistry.
no, I mean,
And it showed on screen too. You looked natural and comfortable together.
Thank you.
well, it's funny too, because we're both parents, but we're not parents of a teenager, so we also had to figure that out for ourselves, which was fun.
Yeah, well, now you got that to look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
I'm curious, guys. Sorry, I have to.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, guys.